Good morning, students. Today we are going to have a story from class 11, book Hornbill. And the name of this story is The Portrait of a Lady, written by Khuswant Singh. This, The Portrait of a Lady by Khuswant Singh, an Indian writer in English, is an autobiographical story. In this story, Khuswant Singh, who is a famous, notable Indian writer, has portrayed the picture of his grandmother, almost a living picture of his grandmother. How he has described his grandmother and the events that took place when he was just a child living with his grandson, and how the things developed from his childhood to the university level education, and his attachment with his grandmother, and not only the love that he got from his grandmother, but the inspiration. Actually, the grandmother was not only a source of love for him, but she was a source of inspiration in his life that helped in building his career. So we shall in detail see what actually and how Mr. Khuswant Singh has described his grandmother in this story, The Portrait of a Lady. The lady is his grandmother. The portrait is almost a living picture of his grandmother. So let us see how he has described the two main characters in this story. So, two main characters here in this story are the narrator and his grandmother. As I told you, it is an autobiographical story of Khuswant Singh. The theme, the grandmother is not only a source of inspiration, but also a source of, not only a source of love, but also a source of inspiration for the writer. There is a close emotional and filial affection between the two, and that is an example. Now let us just see what happens in this story. In the beginning, the writer just sketches a very lifelike picture of his grandmother. That his grandmother is an old lady. She is short and somewhat just when she walks, she is bending. Her locks white and just scattering over her pillar. She wears white clothes, and when she walks, her one hand, because she just while walking she bends somewhat. She puts her one hand at her waist. There is a rosary, beads of rosary in her hand that she counts the beads of rosary. She, while just moving, she also sings prayer. So she is a very religious lady. She is so old. Actually, the writer says that for last 20 years, I have been just seeing her as old as she is at this time. Means she has been very old, and for the last 20 years, the writer finds her in the same age, same oldness. There is also a picture of his grandfather just hanging just above the mantelpiece of his drawing room, and he is just wearing a turban, and he appears to be 100 years old, and it does not seem that he would have a wife and children anytime in his life, but he would have many grandsons only. The grandmother, especially the focus of the writer is on grandmother. And if somebody says that once she was very pretty and she used to play, and the grandmother sometimes herself just told these things to his grandson, she could not believe it because of her oldness that he just finds. He could not believe that once she was very pretty and she used to play games when she was young. He could not believe it. So, he just sketches a very lifelike picture of his grandmother in the beginning. Second point, then the writer describes how a friendship grew between him and his grandmother. Actually, it so happened that his parents went to city to have job and to get a settlement there in the city. The author and his grandmother, they both were actually left in the village. He was a child that time, and grandmother took all the cares about her grandson. She just woke him up in the morning, made him ready for the school, and while doing all these things, she always just singing her religious prayer, and she just made his slate, his chalk, his pencil, everything ready in his bag for school. She gave him breakfast, that is of style chapatis, on which the sugar and curd is just spread there. And after the breakfast, actually the grandmother took several chapatis actually to feed the dogs in the street. And they just started for the school. Grandmother also, along with the narrator, grandmother also went to school because the school was attached to the temple. So when they reached there, the priest just gave them lessons, started teaching them alphabet and singing prayer in the chorus at the veranda of the school. And inside actually the temple was attached. The grandmother went and she read the holy books, the scriptures. And when the actually class was over, they both returned from there. And in the way, the dogs waiting for the chapatis, and they threw just chapatis to the dogs, growling and fighting dogs. And doing this, they returned home. In this way, the beginning of life, the beginning of his school just continued with his grandmother. Actually, after some time, his parents sent for them in the city. Parents called them to live with them in the city because the parents were settled in the city. So grandmother and the narrator, they both went to the city to live with his parents. There, both were given the same room to live, and just life in the city started. The narrator was admitted in just an English school. Actually, now the grandmother did not go with him, but actually he went to school by bus. And there, just when he came from there, he just told his grandmother what kind of teaching was there, how science was taught there in the school, how English was taught, how music was taught, especially when we just said about music. Grandmother was not happy with this kind of teaching because she felt that music has some lewd association and it should not be taught to the gentle people because it has its attachment with the beggars and the prostitutes. She was also unhappy to find that there was no teaching of God in the school. There was no teaching of about the religion in the school. So she could not speak actually anything. She did not say anything, just have any comment about that. She felt really somewhat unhappy with this kind of teaching. In this way, his learning began there in the city. When he just went was admitted actually in the university, he got a single room to live. And now grandmother was not actually with him in the room. So now the friendship between the two started weakening to some extent. And after some time, the writer got an opportunity to go to abroad for advanced learning. So what happens then? That is another point. So now the time comes when he has to go abroad for his advanced study. There at the station, actually his family members, they go to say him goodbye, and grandmother is also present there. The narrator is thinking that what will be the condition of grandmother who is so deeply attached to him. So she might be upset, she might be emotional, she might start weeping there, and that could make him also emotional at the time of the departure. But nothing like that happened. Grandmother was quite in control. She did not become or did not show any actually tinge of emotional outburst there on the station. She just kissed on his forehead, and the narrator thought that it might be the last physical contact between him and his grandmother because of her age, because of her old age. He thought that after a long time, when I would return from abroad, I might not meet my grandmother physically. So he was sorry for that. So he went abroad and just complete his education there in the foreign country. And after that, and in the meantime here actually grandmother became alone, almost there in the house, because she did not talk to anybody. She just spent her time on just spinning the wheel, singing her prayer, and at the afternoon just feeding the sparrows in the courtyard. Just many sparrows, just they came and sat there in the courtyard, just making noise. Sometimes they came and sat on the shoulder and sometimes on the head of the grandmother. But she did not actually show her anger to them. She just made the breadcrumbs there and just threw them in the courtyard, and the sparrows ate those breadcrumbs and then they flew away. So this half an hour that she spent with the sparrows, actually feeding them the breadcrumbs, was the happiest moment of her just routine every day. After 5 years, completing his advanced study, the narrator returns from the foreign country. And after 5 years, when he returned from abroad, at the station, his family members were there to receive. Especially his grandmother was also there. She just, the rosary was in her hand, she was just uttering her prayers. She could not just utter anything, but she just embraced his grandson in her arms, and then they returned from there. That day, grandmother was actually very happy. This was the first day that at the evening, she forgot to just do her prayer. Just in the afternoon, she actually fed the sparrows, and when it became night, she just called some women of the neighborhood. Actually, they gathered. She just managed an old and just worn out drum and started thumping on her drum and singing. All the women singing there as if they were just welcoming a warrior. So she welcomed her grandson's arrival as a warrior. In the morning next day, she became somewhat ill, and the doctor came and just checked her and said that there was nothing wrong, but grandmother knew that actually her end was very close. So she just made some prayer, actually laid down in the bed and just telling her the beads of her rosary. After some time, the rosary fell from her hand and she died. And it was a great shocking time for the narrator, for the grandson, because the woman was so deeply attached to him. And after his return from abroad, after that he could not spend much time with his grandmother, but she died. Anyway, just her body was actually laid on the floor, and the red shroud was just spread over her dead body. A stretcher was brought, and her body was taken out in the courtyard. And the sparrows, actually, whom grandmother ate every day, the sparrows were also there. And they were maintaining complete silence, as if they were also mourning the death of this great lady. Because every day they were fed by her, but today the atmosphere is completely changed. The sparrows the birds are there, but every day when they came they made noise. But today they were making no noise, there was no sound. As if they were just mourning the death of the person who every day fed them. And seeing the sparrows there, narrator's mother actually felt pity, and she brought bread and she made the breadcrumbs and threw them towards the sparrows. But the sparrows did not take any notice of those breadcrumbs. They did not eat them. And when the dead body was taken just outside the house, the sparrows flew from there quietly. And in this way, the story ends. We can just learn the attachment here, a very just a sense of attachment. How the grandson, how the narrator was attached to his grandmother, how even the sparrows, the birds were attached to this lady. Actually, even the birds, how can they understand that the person who just every day fed her is no more in this world, and they showed their mourning towards this lady. They paid their tribute to this lady, and they flew away from there without just eating a breadcrumb. So this is a great story where a person can become a source of love, and it's not just anybody in your family. It can be your mother, it can be your father, it can be your grandmother, it can be your grandfather. Here in this story we see the grandmother is the source of love and inspiration for Khushwant Singh. Actually, for D.H. Lawrence, his mother was a source of inspiration. His mother was a source of love for him. For Ray Young Beer, there is a poem, The Grandmother, by Ray Young Beer. There also Ray Young Beer describes how his grandmother is just is a source of inspiration for him. How her personality, how her character just becomes instrumental in building his future, building his career in his life. So any person to whom you are attached, because might be that the person of your family is not well read, is not very much educated, but actually some person in the family, sometimes it becomes that he or she is so wise, he is so sensible that you feel some kind of special attachment to that person. And you come close to that person and learn many things from him or her. So in this story, and that is why the narrator sketches a very live picture of his grandmother in this story, and that is why he gives the title of this story, The Portrait of a Lady, and the lady is his grandmother. So this is a great story, and we also have this kind of experience. We also become attached to anybody in our family, and that person is really becomes instrumental for our career. So this is all about this story. We shall just discuss the questions of this story next day. Thank you. Ondan